Hello everyone and welcome to Station 5, The Revolution. Our keywords here are Second Continental Congress, Battle of Saratoga, War at Sea, Yorktown, and Treaty of Paris. At this station we're going to give you an extremely brief or short synopsis of the American Revolution. Okay, let's get started. First things first, at the Second Continental Congress, do not get this confused with the first, okay? The Second Continental Congress was called in order to decide if they should have a peaceful or violent solution, okay? So the British have been taxing the American colonists. We have some loyalist Americans who are pro-British. We have some patriots who are anti-British. We have lots of different types of people, and they are deciding if they should deal with this British problem in a violent or peaceful solution. Okay, so after the Second Continental Congress, you guessed it, they choose a violent solution. They say that we cannot stand for tyranny. Okay, the Declaration of Independence is written after the Second Continental Congress. Okay, so the Declaration of Independence is when the United States declared that they would not be a colony to Britain anymore. Okay, so the goal of the Second Continental Congress was to decide whether to seek a peaceful or violent solution, and they chose violence. Okay, so a bunch of battles happen. Okay, Lexington Concord starts the war. There's tons and tons of battles that happen, but in order to give you a shortcut here, let's go to the little farther in the war when it really starts to get heavy. And so we start to look at the war at sea. The war at sea is really the Patriots' biggest disadvantage in the war. The British have the best navy. They have the best navy in the world at the time. And so Americans really don't have much against the British, but the Americans have good enough ships and good enough skills at sea to be able to hold off the British for a little while. So the war at sea, the biggest thing about that is that they hold off the British, and mostly because their fleet was so small. So the American fleet was extremely small, and they did not, and that's why they have trouble fighting at sea. Their biggest trouble at sea is that their navy is so small that they really can't go anywhere. Alright, so moving on, so they're not having a good time at sea. It's the British versus the Americans, and the Americans are fighting for this idea that they can become their own country. Okay, the turning point of the war is the Battle of Saratoga. Okay, the Battle of Saratoga is the turning point of the war, and what happens is that the British are trying to advance north into New York, but in order to do that, they have to go through this big forest. Okay, and this forest at Saratoga is massive, and the Patriots have a land advantage. They know the land. They hide in trees. Okay. They hide in trees and they ambush the British all the time. Okay, pretty cool battle. But the reason why it's a turning point for the Patriots is that the Patriots kept on asking other European countries like France and Spain for help against the British, and they kept on saying no because they thought it was going to be a lost cause. They thought that the British were going to destroy the Americans. That the Americans didn't have a chance. Okay. Now, after the Battle of Saratoga, the French and the Spanish decide that it's worth it to take a risk on the Americans. So, after the Battle of Saratoga, the French and the Spanish give money and soldiers to the war. This is crucial for America, because without France and Spain help, it's very unlikely that they would have still won the Revolutionary War. So the French give their boats to help out the Americans at sea, and so do the French. So it creates a a much bigger war than what they started with. Okay, so the Battle of Saratoga is a turning point for the Patriots, because it gets the French and the Spanish involved. Okay. Alright. So now we go to the very last battle of the war. Okay, this is Yorktown. Okay, Yorktown is the last major battle of the American Revolution, and that's why it's important. It's important because it's the last major battle of the Revolution. Okay, so this battle map right here, Cornwallis marched to the river, to the York River, because he was under the impression that he was going to have British boats behind him, and he thought that the British boats would fend off the French right here and General Washington and the Patriots. Okay, so he went to the water, but it turns out that the French Navy actually beat the British Navy, and so what happened at Yorktown is that General Cornwallis for the British was surrounded by the French and the Americans. Okay, so he was surrounded by the French and the Americans, and he had to surrender almost 60,000 soldiers here in a very embarrassing defeat. It's the last major battle of the American Revolution. Okay, so after the revolution's over, they do what they always do, and they have to sign a treaty. That treaty is the Treaty of Paris, 1783. Okay, so 1783, they signed the Treaty of Paris, and it proclaims that America is its own country and no longer under British rule. Okay, so that is the American Revolution in less than 7 minutes. That is the American Revolution in less than 7 minutes. Okay, so that's what it is. So make sure you go down to the description and you watch the bonus video there available for you. Thank you very much, and goodbye.